Hello everyone, it's Maha. So tonight's video is part of a series called The Wounded Healer, which I'm doing in collaboration with my three lovely friends here on YouTube, Cassandra from First Light Mystics, Amber from Lavender Moon, and Diane. So Cassandra has done a beautiful and amazing introduction to this series. This is part of her Mystic Roundtable series that she does on her channel. And Amber has done a video where she talks about the shadow side of the wounded healer and how not to work from a place of our wounds. And Diane talks about, she gives some resources for the wounded healer, and she talks about the healed wounded healer. And she discusses how we're never really, as wounded healers, we're never really 100% healed, and that we continue to work on ourselves. And once we have gone through our own wounds and pain and suffering, then we can heal others, or we can become healers. And I think this topic of the wounded healer is a really important one to discuss. I actually wanted to make a series on the wounded healer before on my channel, so I'm really happy to be part of this collaboration. And we also ask any of you to join if you'd like to share your stories. I think that the archetype of the wounded healer is very important in this community, especially because many of us have gone through our own wounds. Many of us are on our path to healing and wholeness. Many of us are wounded healers in that we are using different modalities to heal others and be of service to others, whether that's through tarot, crystal healing, Reiki, psychotherapy, any of those things and more. And many of us are still on this path of wholeness and healing. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the archetype of the wounded healer, and I'm going to talk about the myth of Chiron from Greek mythology. And I will, as I talk about this myth, I will touch on how or what the asteroid Chiron symbolizes in the astrological birth chart. And at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I first discovered Chiron and the archetype of the wounded healer. So I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you so much for joining me, and let's get started. So in Greek mythology, Chiron is the half-man, half-horse centaur, and he was the son of Kronos and the nymph Philaria. So Kronos had changed himself to a horse in order to mate with Philaria, and as a result of this union, Chiron was born. But when Philaria first laid eyes on Chiron, she was horrified because she thought that he looked like a monster, and so she prayed to the gods to change her into anything but the mother of a monster, and the gods changed her into a linden tree. So Chiron's first wounding is being abandoned and rejected by his own mother. And in this way, where Chiron is placed in the birth chart is where we feel marginalized, or we feel separated, separate or cut off, where we feel like an outsider. And where Chiron's placed in the birth chart also points to where we can feel safe as an outsider. So as the myth continues, Chiron was found by a shepherd, and the shepherd took him to the sun god Apollo, and Apollo was the god of music, poetry, divination, prophecy, and healing. And Apollo's brother was Artemis, who ruled over the animal kingdom, the woman's rites of passage, and the sacred properties, the sacred knowledge of the healing properties of plants. And so under the mentorship of Apollo and Artemis, Chiron became a teacher, a wise man, a prophet, a musician, and an astronomer, and a healer. And he was the mentor to many, many famous Greek gods, including Hercules. And so where Chiron gets the title of the wounded healer is that one day he was struck by a poisonous arrow of Hercules, Hercules' poisonous arrow, by accident. And so he got this wound in his leg that he suffered greatly from, and the wound would not heal. And in search of finding the cure for this wound, he gained great knowledge for healing, which he then passed on to others and healed others. He became a healer. So the wounded healer archetype is someone who has gone through their own suffering and pain, and out of that has gained wisdom and knowledge to pass on to others and to become a healer, to heal others. So as the story continues, Chiron's wound, his pain, suffering, finally came to a resolution when he exchanged places with Prometheus, who was being punished by Zeus for stealing fire and giving it to humans. So Zeus had Prometheus chained to a rock, and every day he would send an eagle to eat Prometheus's liver, and then his liver would grow back, and then he would send the eagle again to eat the liver. So it was a continual process of suffering for Prometheus. And the only way that he could be released was if he exchanged places with an immortal being. So Chiron he felt Prometheus' suffering, and he then sacrificed himself in order to set Prometheus free. So in this way, the wounded healer is someone who can sense, someone who can feel other people's pain and then can put themselves in their place. And then from this place of understanding and compassion comes true release and transformation. So astrologically, where Chiron is placed in the chart also points to where we are wounded and where we have the potential for healing. So as the poet Rumi says so beautifully, the cure for the pain is in the pain. The cure for the pain is in the pain. So Chiron in the birth chart shows where we are wounded and also where we can be healed. And astrologically, Chiron is related to Sagittarius, Virgo, and sometimes by some astrologers, Taurus, the sign of Taurus. So when Chiron sacrificed himself for Prometheus' place, Zeus sent him to as the constellation of Sagittarius, the half-man, half-horse. And so, by the way, here I'll show you, this is an image of Chiron from the Mythic Tarot, which is a really great, sorry, not Mythic Tarot, Mythic Oracle, which is a really great oracle deck for kind of getting to know a lot of the Greek gods and goddesses. And in this guidebook, which is really great, there is a nice description of Chiron, very simple, to the point, and also the message that Chiron has to give for us. And in tarot, Sagittarius corresponds to the Temperance card. And here we know that sometimes what we associate with this card is healing and balancing opposites. And Amber in her video was talking about the need for us as wounded healers to work on our imbalances, to balance the imbalances. And I associated that, what she said, to this card. And Virgo is linked astrologically, corresponds to the Hermit card. And here I see the Hermit as the wise man who sheds light on others to help others follow his path of wisdom and the knowledge he's gained by going within. And the sign of Taurus corresponds to the Hierophant card. And when I was working with tarot in the beginning, when I first started learning about tarot, I worked with the Wizard's Tarot by Corinne Kenner. And I really understood the meaning of this card because she has Chiron depicted on this card as the Hierophant, and I really understood the meaning of the Hierophant here being the wise man who's gained knowledge and he's passing it to others. And what's interesting is he's wearing on his belt here, I don't know if you can see, he's wearing keys, and Chiron's symbol in astrology is like an inverted or reversed key. It's a circle with a K on top. And we also see these keys in the Hierophant right down here. You can't really see, but down here there are the keys, so I like that connection there. So now I want to talk a little bit about my own journey with Chiron when I first discovered Chiron. So as some of you know, I've talked about it a little bit on my channel. I've gone through my own share of pain and my own wounds related to my physical body. Of course, the physical body is related to the emotions and the mind. And when 5-6 years ago, when I injured my back really badly, I was trying to find solutions, kind of trying to help myself outside of the Western medicine system that was helping me. I wanted to kind of get my own answers. And so I was reading lots of different books, and I came upon this book called Astrological Aromatherapy by Patricia Davis, which I'll link down below. Really great book. And I was really fascinated by this idea of aromatherapy because I was learning about essential oils and their therapeutic qualities and how they could help me, for example, relax, work with anxiety, and how they could help soothe pain, physical pain. And then I just came upon that book, and in that book she talked about the relationship between the correspondences of the plants and essential oils to the signs and planets in astrology. And then she talked about Chiron, and that was the first time I read about Chiron and the archetype of the wounded healer. So that kind of sparked my interest to go into astrology and study astrology. I had been kind of studying it on my own for many years, but it was not until then that I started exploring astrology, really reading books seriously and then taking it further and studying it further. And for me, astrology has been really healing. And now that I am at a point where I feel I've kind of gone through the biggest challenges of my pain and my wounding, and I'm sort of in a place where I'm becoming more powerful, becoming stronger, I feel that I can pass that healing, that knowledge to others and help others heal. And for me, that's through astrology and maybe the combination of astrology and the healing properties of plants and essential oils. So that's how I'm using astrology, more to be of service to others, to somehow help others on their path of healing and wholeness. And I'm still going through my own path and learning and continuing on this journey, which to me really never ends. There's always more to learn and experience, and I like that. Actually, I really like that because there's always things coming up, both in astrology and in my path of healing and learning. So that's what I'm going to say, is all I'm going to say in this video. Again, if you want to talk about your experiences, if you feel that you are a wounded healer or that you resonate with this archetype, you are more than welcome to join us in this series. There is a hashtag that Cassandra created. And also I wanted to add that maybe if you feel that you are a wounded healer, you could see if in your birth chart, if there is a strong Sagittarius or Virgo or Taurus, because from my experience, I've found that people who are strong in those signs really resonate with the wounded healer archetype. So I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I really appreciate you, and I love to hear or read your comments down below. And I'm sending you lots of love, as always, and many blessings. See you in the next video. Bye.